Good morning, everybody. Well, at least it's good morning for me. I'm recording this before heading into church. I want to ask you, as we are here on this Victory Sunday, watching the Michigan Wolverines in a 24-10 win over the Badgers, a game that honestly was a lot further apart, I thought, than the final score, which seems to be the thing for Michigan lately. Felt like they beat Nebraska pretty well, and they end up winning by just a couple of points. I feel like we dominated Wisconsin. We only won by 14. This felt like a game that should have been high 30s to 10, somewhere in that range. But it doesn't matter. We walk away with the victory. I never felt like in the second half this was a game that I was worried was in doubt. But I want to ask you, what were a couple of your big takeaways from this game? Hit it to me. Was it an overall negative feel? Was it an overall positive feel? Like, are you sitting here being like Bryce Underwood is him, or are you still just worried about the drops with the wide receivers? Are you thinking about how Justice Haynes is the guy, or are you still worried about a beleaguered, seemingly offensive line? Like, let's talk about all of these things. I got some winners. I got some losers. I got some takeaways in a game that, when I give you my opinion, it felt like it was more of the same. It was confirmed once again that Michigan is flat out more talented than pretty much anybody they'll face on their schedule this year. I think the only two teams that they play on their schedule this year that can match them talent-wise were Oklahoma and Ohio State. Everybody else, Michigan is going to come onto that field as a more athletic, more talented team. The question is, will these same mistakes continue to plague us over and over and over? Whether it's the kicking woes, whether it's missed blocking assignments, whether it's drop passes, whether it's even, believe it or not, a couple of missed tackles or blown assignments in the middle of the defense. These are the types of things that we must, and that is not on repeat. Don't worry, your video's not skipping. We must fix. And so let's talk about a couple of those things. Let's start with the positive, because I like to start with the positive. All right? 3 extremely positive takeaways from me. All right? Number 1, we did a video earlier talking about how the Andrew Marsh was going to be in for a bigger role. And sorry about that. It just flipped over. And was he ever in for a bigger role? Channing, goodbye. All right. It's no longer good win. It's goodbye, because he did not play. He will be a wide receiver again for this team. Don't worry. He will play again this year. He will have an important role. I can promise you that. But even though Samaj Morning and Channing Goodwin were the drop culprits, Samaj Morgan continued to play. Channing did not. It was Andrew Marsh. All right. On, I believe it was just 4 targets, had 4 catches for 80 yards, including just an absolute wonderful catch on the sidelines. A dart was thrown by his quarterback, Bryce Underwood, but at the same time, this was a 50-50 ball that a wide receiver made a 75-25 ball. He went up, he got it, he made the great play. My first win in this one is absolutely Andrew Marsh for this game. As a true freshman, he showed why he is going to be a talented wide receiver for this team going forward. He's not the biggest guy in the world, 6 foot, 190 pounds, all right, but also not the smallest, all right? He has a good frame to him, just not a ton of height. He has good speed. He showed that he can play effective wide receiver, both stretching the field, making acrobatic catches, but also in the short passing game. He took a wide receiver screen pass for 15 yards as well. So this is one of those things that you have to look at and be like, okay, we found a guy, but here's the other thing. Every ball that hit his hands, he caught. That is the most important thing. All right, my second win in this one, I mean, there's honestly a few, is this guy, Justice Haynes. Justice Haynes once again went out and did it. Wisconsin had not given up a run longer than 19 yards all year. All right, teams were averaging under 50 yards against them a game. No team had run for, I believe, more than 50 yards against them. Justice Haynes took 2 runs over 19, one for 43, one for 23. He ended up with 19 carries for 117 yards, good for a 6.2 average. Even if you take that 43-yarder out of there, he was still over 70 yards on 18 carries. Not like remarkable, but when he had the opportunity, he used it, he seized it. Another 2 touchdowns. A guy has been over 100 yards every game for 5 games in a row. That's remarkable. He has 8 touchdowns. It is time for him to start getting the national attention. Okay. Another winner in this game that I want to talk about. There's a couple on the defensive end, if I can be honest with you. Jimmy Rolder was everywhere in this game. He firmly took the I'm going to tackle everything in my vicinity and allowed other guys like Derek Moore and Jayshawn Barham and Ernest Hausman and all those guys, he allowed them to just go be playmakers. All right, Brandon Hillman, because his job was tackle everything that moves. He did that extremely well. And then it would not be fair for me not to give another game ball to a guy by the name of Rod Moore. Coming back, only a second game coming off of injury, and he gets an interception. So good to see him. And by the way, the one tackle that he had was a phenomenal tackle. The entire defense was fooled. If he doesn't jet out from his deep, like 20 yards deep safety position and make a tackle for only a 5-yard gain, what do we do? That's a drive that ends in points for Wisconsin. In a game that points were hard to come by, that was a massive tackle. Massive tackle. All right. And I did it on purpose. I didn't even talk about Bryce Underwood as getting my game balls. So, because he was fantastic. But here's the other thing that I need to mention. Here's what I need to talk about, because there are mistakes we have to clean up, and I understand that. All right, I want to talk about this again. 175 yards on the ground against a team that gave up less than 50, and only 12 came from Bryce Underwood. I want to be really clear about that. Only 12 from our quarterback. I thought if we were going to run for that 150 to 200 yards, it was going to be 50 to 60 yards from Bryce Underwood. Nope. 117 from Justice Haynes. 44 from Jordan Marshall. These two are starting to become more of that 1-2 combo that you want them to become. Now, with all that said, 270 yards passing for Bryce Underwood. 117 for Haynes. 175 on the ground total. Outgained them like crazy. Yet, I feel like the offensive line was not good. Yet, I feel like we still have a lot of room to grow in the wide receivers. There were 2 or 3 occasions, all right, where Sprague, I'm going to be honest, it was Sprague gave up a sack or a big loss on a run where it was a tackle for loss or something like that. That just killed a drive. There were 2 drops, one by Max Bredesen, one by Samaj Morgan. There was a 3rd drop. I forget where it came in. But there were 3 drops overall, 2 big drops that would have continued drives that didn't. There was an almost drop, a fumble, almost fumble lost by Samaj Morgan that almost ended a drive in red zone territory. Like, there are still so many mistakes that you can't continue to make and expect to go through this schedule unblemished. You cannot go into USC. Are we going there soon? I think so, right? You cannot go into USC, have 3 drops, have 3 or 4 tackle for losses, sacks that are just blown up plays that have no chance. We have playmakers. We have, I didn't even talk about Donovan McCulley and his 6 catches, 112 yards. Like, are you kidding me? He is earning the number 1 now. Like, he had a game that we haven't seen from a Michigan wide receiver. Like, he had a Braylon Edwards game where he was catching it. He was getting open and catching it, but he was also just catching it when he was covered. Like, we have playmakers. Andrew Marsh is becoming a playmaker. Justice Haynes is a playmaker. We have Klein. We have all these guys. We need an offensive line that can't have big mental errors. We need the other guys, the Samaj Morgan of the world, who is absolutely dangerous in open space. All right, he is a jitterbug. He breaks tackles. Like, he does a really good job, but he has to catch the ball. So we need to do these things. We need to do them better in order to allow what is elite talent and now a quarterback that can get it to that elite talent. We just need to be better. We need to be better in order to help that. So those are my takeaways from the game. Hope you enjoyed watching it. I did in the second half. I enjoyed it. I enjoy watching the talent. I'm just waiting for it to come together. And I'm hoping over this next 3-game stretch, which is not an easy, like, it's not remarkably difficult, but it's not easy. All right, there's good depth to this conference. And these next 3 games, Washington went on the road, got a win over Maryland, who had been looking good. They showed that they're resilient. Like, they're 3 games that we should win, but if we make these mistakes, we won't win all 3. We just won't. So that's what I'm looking for. We'll continue to have videos going on throughout this week. Every single day, we want to be your go-to spot for Michigan football. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.